Oh, Rogers, something new? Found them at the bottom of the drawer, eh? Well, let's have a look at what we've got. Oh, I see. Well, let's see. Let's see what we can do. Yes. No, I think this is beyond the power of medicine as it stands, but perhaps our associates, the anatomists, might have some fun with this. That's clean enough. Oh, Rogers, sent us something new. Not too fresh, I hope. Let's have a look. Hello, chap here in the workshop, and welcome to a little dissection video of this original 1866 Chassepot cartridge. Now, this one comes from Waffen Emmental. Kuno was rummaging around in his drawers and he found this example, which had sadly suffered in the passage of time and is broken. So it makes life easier for me. I can't feel guilty about dissecting it because it's already broken. I do have an original one which I keep in good condition. So I thought it would be nice to see the actual component parts of the cartridge and compare those to the components you see, for example, in this well-known document. I have to be careful because the powder is still live, as in it still sparks very nicely. So when I'm going to try and get it out of the paper tube, I shall have to be careful. Okay, here is a complete unmolested cartridge, still very old, and so we have the bullet here, which is contained inside the patch, and then we have the bottom bit, which is a powder tube with highly compressed black powder, and we have the primer in the base here. Around the powder tube is this very fine silk gauze. Not quite sure why it was there, and it's not on all patterns of cartridges. There are some which never had it, and normally it is varnished over the top of the paper, which is, you can see on this one. So this one is coming loose, and obviously the varnish has decayed. So what's happened on this cartridge is that the powder tube has separated just at the tie. So the powder tube actually extends beyond the tying portion. This is what binds the two elements of the cartridge together. And yeah, with this compression, as the paper's dried, it's sectioned off at that point there. So the powder is very loose because I've loosened it with a wooden dowel here, and yeah, it was, as is necessary for the cartridge, it is very highly compressed. So I'll pour that out over here, and we can set fire to it later. It's nice and dry. We'll cut this open, and then we can see what the base looks like. On the other end, you can see the top end of the paper powder tube, which has a little cardboard washer at the top, and it's got a hole in the middle because the knot, when you tie off the paper tube, it gets tucked into that. So first of all, let's try and open this, because the way the powder, or sorry, the primer is attached is quite interesting. This is really very, very brittle. You can see the elements of the base. It is a 10-pointed star, effectively. You can see the petals there sticking to the inside. That is stuck to the inside of the paper tube. Now, nowadays we tend to cheat and do it outside, but if you want to do it to make these cartridges the real way, this paper star at the base of the case is folded inside the paper tube. And you peeling this off. There you go, a good view of the petals there. I'm guessing that was done with a stamp. The primer is a winged primer, not quite as winged as we have on musket caps. And there is this little cardboard cup, which is placed over the top and glued to the base here. And underneath this, there should be a little rubber disc camera. There we go. there is the rubber disc. Obviously solid right now. Yep, rock solid. And here is the winged cap. I don't know if I can push out the cap. I think it's... oh, it might go through. It might come out. Yeah, there we go. Here is the little cardboard cup. I'm guessing these were just pressed out, maybe with damp cardboard and with steam, and then pressed into this little 3D shape. And here we have the cap. Now, early models of this you sometimes have two little holes at the base to help with, well, presumably to help with ignition. Seems they thought this was finally a waste of time. They didn't bother anymore, which is interesting. So nowadays it's quite convenient to aid ignition to put a little pinch of powder inside the cap before you seal it into the bottom of the base. But, back in the day they didn't think it was useful. I have the impression also that caps back in those days were a lot more powerful than they are today. And now let's go to the bullet, its patch. So this is slightly greasy, got a slightly waxy feel to it, so some of the original lube is on there. So let's try and cut this cinch here. Yep, there we go. Certainly very, very strong, because you need to have an immense amount of tension on these to cinch down on basically through the compressed powder enough that it pinches the powder tube to be, it's pretty rigid. So you need to be able to put a lot of tension on that thread. So now let's see if I can unravel it. The base of this is glued, so that's why I can't unravel it completely. Here is the top of the cartridge of the powder tube. You can see it's been cinched in, and then the knot was poked in through the top of this cardboard disc. Probably it was twisted and then nipped off with a pair of pliers and then just tucked in there. So you can see there's the card washer. And let's go back to the bullet. Here we have the original bullet. And here is the patch. So it is stuck over a small, around the base effectively. Now there was a tool for trimming this off, so the pattern you see in the classic drawing seems to be in an untrimmed state, and in the manual there's this picture of a tool, some kind of scissor, on which you put the bullet pre-patched, and you sort of snip off the skirt at the base to a standard length before you tie it on. And I haven't figured out how that thing works. And now for the big finale. Ooh. Oh, hi. Yeah, I was just checking that my eyebrows are still there. So I hope you found that at least vaguely interesting. It's not often you get to compare the physical components of, ammunition 100, 150 years old with the documentation. Sometimes you kind of doubt what's written, but here we could see really everything is as it is. It was interesting to see how the base of the cartridge is constructed. Doing that 10-pointed star, nowadays you would need a specialized stamp, or unless you cut them each by hand. I really don't have time for that. But yeah, it's a relatively complex ammunition. It's effectively one of the very first viable caseless ammo that was made, and just like with the latest caseless ammo, it had its problems, and it just wasn't ready, and it's still not ready. Maybe one day it'll happen. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for following us on whatever platform you wish to choose. We're on the tubes, we're on Player, and of course we're on the app. And thank you for any support you wish to give us. See you later.